Hey everybody, Diggs here. It's another beautiful day out here in the Pacific Northwest. We just got done from taking our dogs out. It's 75 degrees out. Absolutely wonderful. Today we're going to be talking about 2B. Of course, that bootylicious ass. I hope you're ready. Let's go ahead and dig in. Now, in my initial review video, a lot of people pointed out that they thought I was underestimating 2B's potential and that I was kind of coming at her from a pessimistic viewpoint. So just to kind of reassess her and just reestablish what I think about her, I did take the tier list from Ultima up and I did put it up here, and you can see that she is rated SS, and she's up there kind of in the same category as 9S, Christmas Victoria, Christmas Celir, and Rel, which we'll get into later, even ranked just a little bit higher than Tidus. So 2B is definitely not a kind of guaranteed skip. She is a very powerful unit if you do know how to utilize her kit, and she is kind of on par or on the same level as some of the double cost units that will be coming out. Now, do I think that Evasion with 2B is going to be like go-to king? Maybe not, but I do think we will see some 2B and Tifa compositions coming out in the future, particularly with Little Leela maybe. So I think there is definitely room for 2B in the future. Now, let's get into the specifics of 2B, why she's going to be good, what's going to kind of give her sort of a power level that other units don't have, what her kind of niche build is really aimed towards, and how she's going to perform. So first off, she is a Yorha number 2 type B job class with Samurai and Fighter as her sub-job, or Pugilist as it's known in Global. She of course is ranked in the double S tier as you can see above, 9S as well, but this video is not going to be covering 9S. 2B's TMR is very powerful. It can be equipped by a lot of units. It gives Spirit 7, Evade 10, HP 252, and while not having innate agility on it, it is going to increase agility by 25% for 3 turns to self when it's fully maxed out, and it's going to increase acquired AP to 80 for 3 turns to self, so that's going to be a significant AP generation machine. To compare it to Ziza's Bells, the ability Revitalize. Revitalize grants auto restore 25% for 3 turns to self. So they are different abilities, but they are both definitely very powerful in AP generation. And if you are in a fight that's going to be dragging on for the duration, the Yorha combat goggles are going to be pretty powerful, I would say on par with Bells, but they're not going to give you that giant initial AP boost. They might give you a lot of initial AP depending on when the buff and the TP cost of the ability restores the AP. Not 100% sure. We will have to test that. I just know that the Yorha goggles are one of the better TMRs in JP, and a lot of people chased them when 2B came out. Now, let's go ahead and dig in a little bit more here. Take a look at her mastery and stats, and specifically some of her resistances. She is going to have 20% resistance to earth, no surprise there, 10% weakness to ice, and her resistances are really good. Going to come in with 10% slash resistance, 10% fist resistance, 10% missile resistance, 15% weakness to pierce, and 5% weakness to magic. There's not very many Pierce units being run right now. There might be with potentially 9S being run a little bit more. And so it's interesting that her weakness slash counter is kind of going to be 9S with her weakness to Pierce. Weakness to magic, not the biggest deal, I don't think. 5% isn't too much to worry about. Of course, she's going to come with 50% charm resistance, which is incredible. A lot of the limited time units do get that 50% charm resistance, which becomes very important when you're doing PvE content. We're also seeing 10% death resistance, which we don't get very much. And any unit with death resistance is going to be relevant, particularly when we get some of the Espers, or one of the Espers in particular, that does get 15% death resistance on them, which will increase, sort of put 2B in the range to avoid death in situations in PvE where you might be going up against an enemy that does Doom or something else. We do, of course, have paralysis 50% resistance. For base stats, really interesting here. 2B has According to Ultima, the highest attack right now in the game at 531 base attack. AP is coming in at 122, HP 3,181, defense 4, agility 66, dexterity 209. Pretty standard, I would say. Definitely not overpowered, but definitely something, you know, to watch. And I think being sort of an evasive 120 unit, one of the things to keep in mind is kind of building her to survive a hit from a 100% hit magic composition team or a 100% hit kind of opposing team. So kind of boosting up that AP is something you're going to want to kind of think about. She does have some barrier abilities that will do that. And then, of course, her limit break is going to increase slash resistance by 30 for 3 turns to self, and it's going to deal 200% damage to the opponent. Now, I don't think I mentioned her mastery ability, but it's pretty much the same as all other mastery abilities nowadays, except she does get evasion rate plus 10 on herself, so really good overall. Her limit break is interesting because I'm not sure we'll see it used a lot. The defense penetration or slash resistance penetration, I'm going to mix this up because 9S has defense penetration and 2B has slash resistance penetration, but I think the slash resistance penetration, while being good, is a little bit of a niche use, and I'm not sure we're going to be seeing that limit break being used all the time. We'll have to wait and see kind of the direction that players decide to take it. Taking a look at her support and counter abilities, one of the most unique support abilities in the game I think I've ever seen. Auto-absorb Kai, absorb 30% of damage done for 5 turns to self. This is really cool. And, you know, we talked about being able to survive as kind of this evasion hybrid unit. Being able to auto-absorb and attack 30 or auto-absorb 30% of the damage done for 5 turns to self, kind of at the start of the match, is really powerful, especially if you consider that all it takes is like 1 Una potentially to like one-shot an evasion unit right now. This is really good, and I think this is going to be one of the supports that you're going to be setting a lot. If there's kind of a transition out of, you know, that we're seeing 100% hit units, you can easily transition to Solo the Sword from Samurai Sub, which is going to give both evasion up plus 12 and attack plus 25%. Pair that with strength and attack power, which will give defense penetration 40 for self and increases attack 24% for self. Again, really powerful. The defense penetration, of course, really good. You might want to weigh, though, whether this is as good as Fighting Spirit from Pugilist, which will give HP 12% and attack 24%. You're kind of fighting between defense penetration 40 and HP 12%, depending on survivability. It's one of those situations where you're going to have to feel it out and kind of figure out what passive you're setting and what passives you're going to build with her. Counter abilities, Just Avoid is basically a physical reflex for 2B. I would definitely set this. Chance to counter physical damage. So basically 15% of the time on a physical attack, 2B is basically going to dodge all damage, which is great. Keep in mind, though, this is only physical attacks. So this would be really good. Gosh, I think actually Garvel's attacks would be classified as magical too. So yeah, I can't... maybe like Rob's new ability that's connected with the Rob VC, right? Where it's 100% physical attack. Guaranteed hit. That would be a really good choice here. But I'm not thinking off the top of my head a lot of physical attacks that are 100% hit. You, of course, have an upgrade to burst counter, which is okay, right? It's pretty good if you're going to be in like close proximity. So I could also see that being good. You're just kind of going to have to feel it out. I think most people are going to be setting that physical reflex, though. That just makes sense to me. Primary job abilities, some really interesting stuff here. We do have Shockwave, which decreases healing power 50 for 3 turns to the target. Essentially, this is Hien, except it's range height 1. Really powerful, I would say. You know, anytime you can decrease healing power in a world where there is Yuna, this is just incredible. Resist field, I think this is going to be very important. And I think a lot of class matches, I think a lot of PvP, and a lot of arena and guild battles are going to be decided by this ability and how you have kind of adjusted your AI to do this, particularly with the concept of King Mont coming and his limit breaks capability to berserk. Basically being able to nullify, immobilize, disable, and berserk for allies is very important. Not only that, it increases slash resistance and strike resistance 20 for 3 turns to allies, This is really powerful, and being able to make sure that you're getting this off on your units every turn is definitely going to be important in the future. And I just envision 2B being one of those few units that is capable of countering King Mont. We'll really have to wait and see. In addition to all of this, 2B also has Swirl Raid, which is basically a cross-shaped attack, which has a 25% chance to inflict confusion, which is powerful. Armor deployment is going to put a 30% physical barrier on her. So if you're having trouble surviving, you can put that on. And then you have the other part of her kit, right? Where she actually has pierce attacks as well as slash attacks. So she has the ability Stab, which is a piercing based attack, which will decrease slash attack and strike attack by 25 for 3 turns to target. This is really relevant in that if you can bust, buff up with resist field, that'll give you 20% slash and strike resistance, while also decreasing your slash attack and strike attack on the opponent by 25% with stab or stabbing change. Like, these are really good, and you can increase it to decrease slash and strike attack by 40%. That's essentially, if you have a slash attack opponent, almost lowering their attack by 50% about, especially when you consider the 20% resistance that you're putting on your own characters as well with resist field. I see this being really good, and I can definitely tell now that I'm going through her abilities that I kind of underestimated 2B in the beginning. Shockwave Kai, I'm less excited about. It is her level 125 or job 25 ability. I think because I'm less excited for this, you may be able just to leave 2B at level 115. You really have to decide if the slow ability is important to you. For me, it's not so much. You already have Confuse, you already have buffing, you already have, decreasing slash and strike attack. Personally, I would rather do one of those than land slow on the opponent, but I could see this being really good in some niche raid situations, so keep that in mind. For her sub jobs, subbing Yorha number 2 type B, maintenance is going to increase healing power 20 for 3 turns to self. I wouldn't really care about that. But her instantaneous continuous attack is interesting, where it moves the unit to the target panel and deals 165% attack. This is very similar to Warrior of Light's shift attack. And we do know that shift attack does get used by Warrior of Light. I know a lot of people turn that ability off. So I would be interested to see how this works with 2B, particularly in maps that have like difference of range height and stuff. I could see this being a little bit of an advantage of closing the gap. I could see this being used, but I could also see this messing up your ability rotation. Taking a look at her other sub jobs, you have Sub Samurai. You have all of the basic things that Sub Samurai would offer. Illusion, of course, being really good with that Evasion 25 if you are going to be running for an Evasion build with her. Honestly, though, with her amount of critical hit rate and with the change kind of with, no, not a change, but with Cloud coming in the near future, being able to get additional AP from critical hits, I'm kind of wondering if Dedication might be used from her Samurai sub job. Pugilist sub job, I'm not looking at, unless you're wanting maybe some more survivability from like instant one-shot attacks, or maybe there's a lot of Gilgameshes and you need to survive one attack. It's kind of up in the air. I could see both of them being used. I think what I like about the Pugilist sub the most is 2B is literally like the 5th or 6th unit we've had now with Pugilist sub. And I just see a world where, maybe we have a hand-to-hand meta, or we have a hand-to-hand combat situation in a raid, like the Christmas raid coming up. And we have so many units with access to Pugilist sub abilities right now. I feel like I could literally just chain fist attacks whenever I wanted from really powerful UR units because of how many sub Pugilists that we do have. Let's go ahead and take a look at her equipment, the White Contract. One of the more unique weapons in the game. What's unique about it is its +5 form does give 10 slash attack and it gives 10 pierce attack as well. And then it has 2 forms that are really good. And I think you're going to want to get multiple versions of each form. You're going to want the critical hit rate form, which gives 153 attack and 20 critical hit rate. You're also going to want to get the assault form, which has the highest attack value of any great katana in the game right now at 192 attack. Now, in most situations, you would say, well, but you probably want like Purple Lightning, right? Because, Laswell, first of all, and then of course, Purple Lightning has slash attack +20 on it. And I would actually agree with that. with the one exception that actually a lot of samurai main jobs, and keep in mind this is an area that I am an expert on. They do have access to Sub Lancer. A lot of them have access to some Pierce attacks. So I could see this actually being viable on multiple samurai units. Now, I think the attack value as well could be really good. And to be really candid, a lot of people don't have Purple Lightning +5. And a lot of people don't even have Osafune, myself included, right? Because they never give us the Osafune farming event. So you're just sitting there like, what the hell? Like, what am I going to use? This would be a great weapon to throw on any samurai. Particularly, as I had just mentioned, Rob does have access to Sub Lancer, which makes him extremely powerful in that regard. Unfortunately, O does not have access to Sub Lancer. And neither does Seymour, but it does definitely make Rob a good candidate for this weapon as well. While we're talking about critical hit rate, I did want to talk about the critical hit rate build, since there's a lot of people talking about running 2B with Tifa right now, and I do know that critical hit rate is something people are thinking about with Cloud's ability for critical hit rate abilities to regen AP. So you get critical 20 from White Contract. On all of the board stats with 2B, you do get crit +24, which with Contract and with 2B alone, you get about +44 crit. The Near VC is going to give crit damage +25, and then Mastery ability is going to give crit damage +5. So if you are running the Near VC with the Tifa VC, right, you're going to get that crit damage +30. Dedication, right, that Samurai sub ability does give +15 crit, a total of 69 crit. And then the Exorcist VC in party does give for wind units +25 crit, putting the critical hit rate at 94. So this is really powerful, right? Is it as strong as, say, Rob, for example? No. But it's definitely something to keep in mind if you are wanting to run a like mono wind crit build team. I could absolutely see it viable. And so let's talk about Esper's too, because that was not taking into account Esper critical hit rate, as well as some of the 3-star Espers that are coming out in the near future. And then we're going to talk about some of the VCs that do support these wind compositions, since everybody, literally everybody that I'm talking to is like, oh my god, Tifa's free, I'm gonna run Tifa with 2B. Literally everybody is like spamming that in my Discord. Let's start with Esper's. Tetrasylphid, of course, whenever Tetrasylphid gets her 3-star form, gets access to more evasion and wind attack. So Tetrasylphid, #1 choice for 2B, right? Secondary choice is actually Two-Headed Dragon. And whenever Two-Headed Dragon gets his 3-star form, he's going to be very powerful and very viable. I do believe he gets access. Let me just double check here. I do believe he gets access to critical hit rate, which he does. He gets an additional 15 critical hit rate if you do want to run Two-Headed Dragon. He also gets another 7 critical damage. He also has access to attack up and slash attack up, and pierce resistance to make up for that pierce weakness on 2B. So I really think Tetrasylphid is probably the #1 choice for now with evasion if you're going an evasion build. In the future, though, I could actually see Two-Headed Dragon with that critical hit rate up and crit damage up actually being the best Esper for 2B. And I know that's a weird thing to think about, but I did want to throw that out there. If we don't get Tetrasylphid or Two-Headed Dragon in the update this week, which would be a tragedy, right? I would probably use with, you know, maybe potentially Ifrit if you're going Pierce attack up, and maybe you want to use 2B's Pierce ability. I would maybe go for any slash Esper. So that would be like Behemoth, get that light resistance on there too. There's kind of a variety of Espers that I think are like second-class citizens compared to Tetrasylphid and Two-Headed Dragon. Let's talk about some of the VCs that you'll be running with her and wanting to plan for. Unfortunately, down at the bottom, you can see the Mobius VC is actually the VC that gives, I almost called them greed units, wind units, HP plus 25%. A lot of people don't have this card, and that HP plus 25% is so powerful. It was a tragedy when I saw this, and I'm really hoping we get access to get the Mobius VC shards again. Tetrasylphid is going to increase max damage by 2,500 for wind units. Exorcist is going to give critical hit rate 25. And then, of course, the newly released Tifa VC, which actually isn't even on WoTV calc yet, translated from my Discord, gives party-wide wind allies strike up and evasion up. Max bonus, it gives single target resistance up, so basically like an Odin resistance buff. And then the bestowed effect is attack up and evade up on the individual unit. So you'll probably see some combination of these VCs being run. I think, of course, that single target resistance plus is going to really help, since a lot of 100% hit attacks that are going to hit 2B are going to be single target. So there is that to consider as well. And that brings us to the end of our video. Hopefully I redeemed myself just a little bit with my 2B hatred that I did put on my video the other day. I definitely will be pulling for 2B. I'll definitely be trying to max out 9S, and I hope you guys are looking forward to my 9S video later tomorrow. If you guys are on Tuesday nights, I will be doing my 2B polls on stream, and I hope to see you guys there. As always, if you want to support me, you can use my affiliate link to support me. That is dig.gs/coins. You can also go to dig.gs/offer as well. And as always, everybody, have a great rest of your day.